Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.
Nurses strike, patients stranded at hospitals nationwide, on pages 5 and 6. And on the Daily Times, nurses begin 7-day warning strike. Port Harcourt refinery not for sale, NNPCL, on page 2. Minister Bianca Ojukwu holds talks in Ghana over bilateral tensions. FG malls cattle breeding centers in 6 geopolitical zones, says Agric Minister. Adalihu rallies support for Nigeria's bid for IMO Council seat. Aviation Ministry MOFI to collaborate on sector's development, on page 12. NAFDAC earned 2.5 billion naira from Lagos Onitsha Aba drug market raid, on page 2. On the Matrix newspaper, Dangote Cement cementing position in Africa with planned 3 MTA grinding plant in Cote d'Ivoire. Ojulari operating PH refinery before full completion of rehabilitation, ill-informed, sub-commercial, with riders say sale of refinery is highly unlikely. Amid GDP rebasing, IMF upgrades Nigeria's economic growth forecast, on page 12. 2027, there is vacancy, Tinubu APC must reapply, says ADC. With riders says there's no vacancy, comments arrogant, undemocratic. Obi's presidential bid threatened over ties with ADC. This is from LP on page 2. Tinubu making bold structural changes for inclusive growth. Bagudu, we want to go back home. Benue IDPs shut down highway in protest over prolonged displacement. Nurses strike cripples hospitals, patients discharged. Alright, now to the Nigerian Tribune. First Holdco posts strong earnings growth in H1 2025. North calls for equitable distribution of resources to address regional imbalance. Bagudu, Tinubu has been faithful to the North, says President fair to all. NNPC rules out sale of Port Harcourt refinery. Petron rejects plans not to privatize refinery. 6 arrested over vandalization of Warri Kaduna crude oil pipeline in Edo, on page 2. Benue IDPs protest over 1 billion naira donation by Tinubu's wife. $245 billion human trafficking scourge threatens Nigeria's security, says AGF. Adeleke deploys 1,750 Imole teacher calls to Osun schools. Nurses strike grounds hospitals. With riders, hospitals reject patients for admission. FG appeals to nurses, midwives, on page 3. And on health, lead in gasoline linked to cognitive impairment in Gen X. Alright, on the leadership, IMF raises Nigeria's 2025 economic growth projection to 3.4%. Alright, disquiet in Ondo as man beheads brother. Kebbi approves 6-month leave for pregnant female workers. Over to the Vanguard newspaper, mixed reactions trail INEC's verdict on LG polls. Hospital services disrupted as nurses strike enters day 3. Negotiations continue tomorrow. Operating PH refinery ahead of full turnaround, ill-informed. This is from NNPCL. With riders rules out sale of refineries. $18 billion spent on 3 refineries, TAM others so far, on page 5. Nigeria was heading for 12 trillion naira subsidy debt. Phantom coup, Labour Party alleges harassment of leaders. Presidency, ex-ADC chair bicker over alleged ministerial bribe offer. Alright, you can find all of that on the Vanguard newspaper. Now to the Daily Independent. Despite GDP growth, structural challenges weigh down economy. Experts charge FG on electricity, non-oil revenue, others. Equities market records second highest single day gain of 1.736 trillion naira. Alright, over to the Punch newspaper. Patients groan as nurses strike ground hospitals nationwide. Reps probe Nigerian miners' abuse claim in car. UTME fraud. JAM prosecuted 110 in 5 years. FGI 796 billion naira annually from 5% petrol surcharge. With riders, consumers decry new fuel tax after subsidy removal as law commences January 2026. You can see that on page 31. Varsity students to face drug tests, says Education Minister. Gunmen stab Ogun Bisman to death. Kings must respect ancestral burial rights or quit throne, says Wande Abimbola. Abiodun welcomes ex-PDP chair, others to Ogun APC. Now to the Guardian newspaper. Suspended school feeding initiative leaves 9 million pupils, 250,000 jobs stranded. NNPCL suspends sale of refinery, exports 400,000 meters of refined products. Marginalization, North's fiscal position stronger under Tinubu, says Bagudu. Alia dissolves cabinet, appoints Ataga as new COS. 2027, Rufai reveals PDP in talks with Obi for major return. Ministry, NDLEA, OK compulsory drug tests for undergraduates. TCM board reaffirms corporate governance standards, faults prolonged tenure of interim directors. Saudia to expand operations in Nigeria with Trans-Blue partnership. And now to the Blueprint newspaper. We are committed to protecting press freedom, says Idris. Kiyamo hosts Mofi, Qatari investors, sector eyes investment boosts. NNPCL rules out sale of Port Harcourt refinery with rider reaffirms commitment to full rehabilitation. Osun 2026, INEC frets over 360,794 uncollected PVCs. How North's fiscal position works stronger under Tinubu's regime, says Bagudu, with riders cites huge critical infrastructure across states, says allocations rose by over 340%. FG state's debt dropped by 33.4%. And on sports, Chan, home-based Super Eagles seek win against Zanzibar. Alright, and that is it on the Blueprint newspaper and on our newspaper headlines this morning. Chris Maduka is in the studio for our review today. How are you today, Chris?
I'm fine, Michelle. We thank God for another day of life. Welcome. There are people who are joining us this morning on our usual newspaper headlines. I have so many for the day.
Yeah, we do. First of all, the nurses strike. Patients stranded at hospitals nationwide, says Daily Trust. Newspapers have different ways of putting it. The Matrix says nurses strike cripples hospitals, patients discharged. So nurses strike grounds hospitals. Hospitals now reject patients for admission and all of that.
Which we have people in leadership positions in Nigeria. Will you tell me that what happened came to them?
Daily Trust.
Did it come to them by surprise? I'm surprised that even nurses are going on strike. I didn't even know we still have nurses in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Now, if we have, for instance, 10 nurses in a place called Nigeria, 6 jackpot to other countries because it's more lucrative to be a nurse there. I mean, more attractive. Then the ones that who do not have anything to sell to obtain visa to travel remain to manage. And the condition of their service get worse. And that remaining 4 go on strike. And the hospitals are rejecting patients because no nurse in the hospitals to take them in and take the initial medical procedures before the doctors come. Don't you think we have landed? When each time I shout here and say Nigeria is not at home, people think we're joking. Of course, people who are like us know we are not at home. We are still here because probably we do not have choice. We are here, we don't have money to japa, we don't have food to eat, we don't have hospitals to go, we don't have roads that are passable, we don't have money to buy food from them, and our life is counted like groundnut. Every day on newspaper headlines, people are dying. But there's only one thing that summarizes everything so that it won't be like Chris Maduka said. Money given to Super Falcons can pay 16,000 medical doctors and 66,000 teachers. In other words, if we think that teachers in Nigeria earn the same salary with nurses, it means that if the amount given in one day as donation, beautiful, but priority and sustainability is what drives government and people. Now, if nurses earn the same thing, it means you would have read that 16,000 doctors and 66,000 nurses would have been paid with the money doled out in one day. When you think about 150 million or that naira per falcon, and then $50,000 broken down to about 100 million to the officials who went. I don't know how to do the mathematics, but people who on Daily Trust who have done the mathematics said that money could have availed a lot.
Yes.
And when we notice this money, if this money is coming from an individual pocket, all beautiful, Nigeria should be led to know. If it's coming from our collective commonwealth, we should know so that we prioritize. Because if the young women that have done us proud received some money and a house and national honors, we would have saved some to see, because we have all that thing pricing on the thing like that resemble it is the Benue issue that the IDPs receive 1 billion naira, and then they now come and block the roads and they are protesting and said this money donated to us would have taken us back to our different homes. Are you giving us 1 billion naira to remain in IDP camp for life? Priority. And now when politics, Nigerian style, enter into the heads of people in politics, they can do anything, and people will get confused in politics and will not look at things objectively. If you put 1 billion naira in Benue State to fight insecurity, people in IDP camps will go. These are people we put in IDP camps, and the number of IDP camps in Benue has increased so much. And these are people who could have been farmers. Even if they are farming to feed themselves, would have saved, if you check, assuming you put the number of people in IDP camp in Benue to about 1 million naira, 1 million people. And that 1 million people, out of about 6 or 5 million of Benue, they are feeding themselves. You have saved trouble. You have saved Nigeria 1 million mouths to feed. But these are people that somewhere somebody is feeding them. And we are glad to donate 1 billion naira. So you sound big. The first lady gave the 1 billion. Why are they protesting? Meaning that the people that are receiving the money know where the problems are. They don't want donations, they want to go back home. Exactly. 1 billion naira Nigerian money can build a whole estate. Assuming they go back and their village has been destroyed, and can build a new estate and relocate these people. We have flooding issue. 1 billion can avail much to flooding in Benue and the other neighboring states. Let me strip it at that. But, there are certain things that we are reading in our headlines. We feel sad that some other people of the world also read the headlines because they are online. And they were looking at Nigeria. This is how this country wants to run. So, they actually look at us and say, we don't have problem. Honestly, Nigerians are our own problem. By our policies, we keep creating one problem in effort to solve another. Because we do not think through issues. I'm sorry to say.
Now, another recurring headline on the Daily Times says Port Harcourt refinery not for sale by NNPCL. It's also on the Daily Trust.
It shouldn't be NNPCL that should decide whether Port Harcourt refinery and other refineries of Nigeria should be sold. It shouldn't be. The people that will decide whether we sell our refinery should be the federal government. If you leave NNPCL, they will leave the refineries at conduit pipe for 28 years. If they tell you the money that NNPCL has collected from Nigeria for turnaround maintenance of refineries, you will marvel. So none of them will want the refinery sold. Former president of Nigeria, Obasanjo, said, none of these oil refineries are amendable. He described them as carcasses. They are conduit pipes. If those refineries do not finish Nigeria, Nigeria will finish them. It is stupid to make conscious effort, spending money on unamendable refineries, when the money we are putting there can put modular refineries everywhere, side by side. In the same Port Harcourt refinery, if you check what Dangote had done in Lagos, in same Port Harcourt, you can build another refinery that is smaller and more manageable, that can take us another 20 years before we get into this stalemate. If Nigeria do not kill NNPCL, NNPCL will kill Nigeria. Simple or short. Because the freeze and the corruption surrounding NNPCL and oil and gas in Nigeria will not, they're talking for both sides of their mouth. No, we on our own, sometimes the thing broke that the NNPCL is selling refineries. After some time, the people from NNPCL that are holding over 200 billion or trillion amount of money, have they reported to NAS? Why are they interested in sell or no sell? Let them go and account for the money. The people who left NNPCL that have been alleged that they are holding. Before we talk about, they don't have a mouth in selling NNPCL. They are not the owner. Nigerians are the owner of the refineries, and the president of Nigeria can speak because it is substantial. He can pass through the National Assembly to decide whether we sell the refinery or not. If you ask NNPCL, you see like nobody will say that it's mama soup. It's not sweet or palatable.
Now we're seeing it's like we're having another a surge in human trafficking, because the Nigerian Tribune says $245 billion human trafficking scourge threatens Nigeria's security.
Because what has cost originally for us to start trafficking in humans has not stopped. There's no resurgence. It has been there. The greatest business you can go into now, and it's no more poor man business. It's no more which I cannot just traffic you or traffic myself or any other person for that matter. It involves money, high connection, network of gang between Nigeria UNDP, or work with National Orientation Agency, or the UN International Organization of Migration. I had the opportunity of working for them under a project called Community Dialogue. When they are talking about community-generated, grassroots-generated solution to stop irregular migration, and they didn't call it illegal. They said it's irregular. When people migrate through irregular means, they say if you want to migrate, go through the normal means. Nigerians, some of them submit themselves in some endemic states like Edo, Delta, Ogun State. Quite recently, Imo, Anambra has entered among the states in Nigeria that are endemic with human trafficking. The data are there with the little work I did with United Nations, IOM. If you see, so it's a high-level business. It is almost linked to kidnapping, banditry, and all. It's a big, it's like also drug business. Yes. So the people involved have high net, they know how they do. It's only the commodities who are the human beings. So imagine when Nigeria are the sixth world highest producer of crude oil. You see what they say, the world that is watching us, that we are being threatened. We steal our crude oil and sell it to Oyibo people. Oyibo people will refine it and bring for us, we buy. Nigerians who are supposed to benefit from being one of the traffic are now selling themselves to the same Oyibos. And incidentally, some of them go there, they don't return. What is that you if they traffic it to China or to Asia? Those are the ones who do not see Nigerians because they harvest kidneys. We have heard of organ harvest and all that in those places that also populated that have issues. So they see easy market. Nigeria is easy market for human traffic. Nigeria is easy market where people say crude oil they steal, not on official level. Nigeria is where kidnapping and killing and banditry works because even people network they send them guns and ammunition, and they have network in Nigeria infiltrated even in security that they won't work for them. Nigeria is a ground that breeds evil. And some people this morning were saying, why is this happening? Because we created a good environment. Because of corruption of our politicians, they've chopped Nigeria dry. So everybody in Nigeria is struggling. Who even you drop a kid here, let's go and fetch water. You come, the kid has been sold. If it's small kids who are even in primary school, you send your primary school to school. Some people are somewhere luring them, tutoring them on how they, in their minds they will take travel. Some of them they won't come back. You think they've stolen. They've traveled by themselves, and when they get there, because of their level, what they did to them. In most hotels, in cities, where politicians gang and sit up there within the same hotel, and NAPTIP and all the secretary have talked about the gangs of people who know school girls, tutor them and lecture them in room, rehearse them, and before you know it, you will think your daughter is in a secondary school or in university. You won't know they've gone. Yeah. Some of them were caught in Abuja recently. Before you say our time is up, there's something about drug testing.
Yes, I was.
I know you come to that. I was coming to work in a public transport. The radio stations we are talking about, Nigerians have a way. They have told us that you must. They now regulate when to sleep with your wife, when to born children, when they go to school, when they graduate. Now graduates. And there, I have had the man who is doing commentary on the radio. They were discussing a newspaper review too. And they say, Nigerian politicians should be forced to be tested. Even the ones in National Assembly. Most of them are not talking like people who are not under drug. I'll give an example. There's a viral video where when they were giving tribute to late Muhammad Buhari, somebody was said, we are quoted as saying, people in high positions were mistaking the name of sitting president with the name of the dead one. And there was no one, there was not two. You think those people are normal? In a case like, you can't hear it in a sane society. So most of our people in power need to be tested. They do not make these powers. Most of the people, the children that want to graduate are their children. Remember that when small goat, when big goat is chopping cord, is chewing cord, the small goats are watching. Where did these children learn about drugs?
Yeah.
Hardship and hunger. At lifestyle of their parents. The highest users of drug in Nigeria are politicians and the very important personality, because drug is not cheap. Not in Nigeria where a mugu of Gary is almost going for 10,000 naira. You will leave Gary to go and buy pinch that they sell. Almost every joint in Enugu you pass, the smell of things that goes out of these joints shows you these are not cigarettes. For some of us that have been around, we know how cigarettes smell. We know how Igbo smells. We don't even know what Nigerians smoke these days and what they drink in joints. It has become, Nigeria is not drug-free state. Nigeria is drug-filled country. And it is going to destroy, in fact, almost everybody, they describe Nigeria as say, wonderfully, fantastically corrupt. Now, we have gotten another medal.
So the people that are okaying this test should also be tested.
And in fact, you start, if there are certain laws, you go back. Everybody in position of authority, even the Nigerian, you will start. Because when they submit themselves, they lead by example. I have submitted myself and I've tested for drug. Everyone must test. That's how we want Nigerian leaders now to go. You don't stay one place in Abuja, in a place where we pay with our tax to keep you. And you have access to anything, including drugs. Let them come and swear with Ogu that they that are making this law, even the people in NDLEA, even our security, let them come and swear. And let them come submit themselves for tests. You know, in sports, you must go through tests. So then there will be no selection. If now it should be law in Nigeria, when anywhere you are, there must be any point you find yourself, they should be able to punch your blood and test you immediately. Let's know how many Nigerians that are drug free. That will tell you, before you know it, almost all the people you have respect for are drug filled and not drug. So that's one thing about law. Laws should be for everybody, not. It shouldn't be animal farm kind of country where all animals are equal, but some are more equal than another. It's not between they and us. If they don't have a way of talking with us, then they will lay in laws for. That's where the issue is. When the house wants to collapse, it will collapse. The roof cannot be there. Yes. God bless Nigeria for those who deserve to be blessed.
All right, and that is it for our newspaper headlines and review this morning.
Save Nature TV, news in your pocket.